its unusual format, which is written as entries into a log, and the format of entries read call, action, result. Those entries were my attempts at whipping the reader out of his or her sleep state and telling a story in a way a reader may never have read before. But like good architecture, where form is supposed to follow function, the log form served a purpose for me in my writing. I could see no better way to tell the story of a man who is at times clinical and precise, but who also clearly enjoys moments of levity. I wondered how a man like this was going to react to experiences that would test his emotions and the emotional balance of his family. The only way for him to figure it all out was to discuss it in a way that he would be comfortable with, the log form. David Appleton, the main character, is definitely not the type to pour his heart out in an opus, so the log form suited him best. Actually, writing with constraints is actually liberating to me as a writer, and the controlled, precise arrangement of the log form in the call let my imagination take off as well, as it immediately set up a kind of tension in the story. And the tension arises from the fact that the rigid form is always making the writer's job difficult. It's always rebuking the writer because it's the writer's job to create the illusion that the writer is breaking free of the form without actually breaking the form. And that, for me, of course, is the fun part. So I think I might have come up for the idea for the log format for the very simple reason that my husband doesn't keep a log, and it's probably really frustrating to me because I don't understand why he doesn't feel the need to write down every call he's been on and the horse he's treated or the animal and what he's administered to the horse, so that the next time he goes to that farm he knows. But of course my husband remembers a lot more than I do, or that I give him credit for. So then I started thinking, well, if he did keep a log, let's say I did thrust upon him a notebook and a pen every time he came back from a call, what would his entries look like? And knowing my husband, I knew he couldn't keep himself from reporting on the stories of the people he met and the beauty of the scenery he passed on his way to driving to certain calls. And that really, it wouldn't be a doctor's call log at all. It wouldn't be filled with dosages of medicines he used or procedures or any other facts and figures. It would be probably the way the call is written. So I knew that the more I paid attention to truth-telling in my work, then the reader would become awake. The more the reader would see the newness of the occasion. And I don't mean truth-telling in the sense that every event I wrote about in the book had to have occurred. I mean truth-telling in the sense that everything I wrote could have occurred, so that it wasn't as if I was reaching for effect with my writing. I wasn't trying to solve the problems of society with my writing, because I certainly don't know about them. And I wasn't making witty ruminations about motive. I wasn't trying to show off how I could turn a phrase, but I was simply reporting on what my character saw in order to conjure a story that moved the human heart, simply because the human heart can be moved. When I finally finished the novel, I called my agent and I said, "I'm sorry." She said, "What do you mean you're sorry?" Because it will never sell, of course. It wasn't your typical novel written in a narrative form with a strong plot. It was a short, perky piece that took big risks. Nevertheless, she loved the book, and in the same breath, she confirmed my fears that it would be a hard sell. Her tactic was to start with one or two big publishers and then move on to the smaller presses. One letter from a major publisher stated, "Thank you for sending the call. It is very impressive. Miss Murphy writes with real authority, but I don't know how I'd make it stand out on our list." So then my agent tried with one of the bigger independent presses. This time the letter praised the writing, the insight into the characters, but that the unconventional format was making her pass. And then the editor closed the letter by saying, "I'm betting I will be kicking myself when this is published to great acclaim."
That's what you want to hear.
And then, of course, my editor emailed me the other week saying it's gone into its 6th printing.